Well, friends, we're back on our bullshit of 31 books in 31 days. I do try my best to read a book a day, roughly, between audiobooks and physical reading, and the past couple of months have been rough. If you don't know, I'm Hannah. This is Hannah's Reading Realm, and today we're doing our October reading wrap-up, where I finally clawed my way out of a reading slump, which was so hard, so tricky, so difficult, but here we are, and I couldn't be more thrilled. With that being said, we're gonna just quickly go through our stats for the month. I read 31 books, which equaled 12,240 pages. I read mainly emotional, lighthearted, dark, mysterious, funny, tense, and hopeful books. I also read 68% of the books I read were between 300 and 500 pages, with only 19% being above 300 and 13% being under 300. And then 97% of the books we read were fiction, with 3 non-fiction. Our top genres were romance, contemporary, thriller, and mystery, and then a handful of YA, poetry, horror, sports, literary, LGBTQ, science fiction, memoir, historical, and crime. And we had a record of an average rating of a 3.81. I've been trying to get over 3.75 as my monthly average all year, and I fear this is the first time it's happened. So, let's get into it. Okay, I'm gonna pull up my Goodreads so we can go like in order of how we read them. I think that's gonna be the easiest course of action, because there are some books that I did read that I don't own, so I feel like this is probably the best choice of things to do. Okay, so we're gonna go to my read books and scroll. I'm pretty sure I know what the first book I read was, but yes. So the first book, which is actually so funny because I talked about this book at the end of my other wrap up and cut it out because I was like, wait, no. But I have not read anything yet today, and today is November 1st. But the first book we read, which was, I read this on October 1st, was A Brush with Love by Maisie Eddings. I am a big fan of Maisie. I've read a different book by her this month as well, and I've read other books from her in the past. But this book is about our main character, Harper, and Harper is in dental school, where she runs into this guy, Dan, literally, who's also in the dental school. He's a year behind her, even though he's the same age. He applied to dental school later than she did. He never wanted to be a dentist, but it's like his family's thing, and after his dad unexpectedly passed away, he felt like he had to step up and replace him so that the mom could stay afloat. So due to Harper being very like stuck in her ways and really truly just wanting to get through dental school, she has like different residencies lined up in different states. She's not staying in town. She has no interest in dating, even though she and Dan very obviously like each other. So they try very hard to just remain friends, but you know, it's never that easy. Then I read Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I believe this is in a mood reading vlog, and then this is in a reading overhyped books video, and this book could not be more worth the hype if it tried. So this book is about our main character. Her name is Yasmin, and she and Josiah are divorced. Oh, I gave this 4 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that. I gave this 5 stars, baby. In this book, Yasmin and Josiah are divorced. They've been divorced, I think, for like 2 or 3 years maybe, and they're still maintaining a very good relationship because they have 2 children together. One of them's like in high school and the other one's like maybe elementary school, and they also own a restaurant together that they're trying to co-run. So we find out throughout the book that there are a lot of like really deep-seated reasons why they got divorced that are very sad and very heartbreaking. This book literally made me sob on multiple occasions, pretty much the whole book. And there was just a beautiful like focus on therapy and grief. And as somebody who unfortunately has lost a lot of people in their life, any stories about grief really hit hard for me. And there's just like something that like touched me so deeply, where it's like no 2 people can grieve the same, and it is hard when you want somebody to grieve in the same way that you do, which is kind of like what Jasmine wanted Josiah to do, but their path of grief was just so different that it caused them to not be able to really work it out. But they still love each other so much, and you can feel how much they love each other, and this is like the definition of a well done second chance romance. And it was 5 stars, and it was super duper good. Then I listened to this book, which is called Runaway Road by Devney Perry. This is book 1 in this like little series. We had our main character, London. I actually don't really remember this too well. I listened to it in the car on a road trip. And London did not have a very good life. She ran away from home when she was 16. Her parents were both drug addicts and strung out, and while they were strung out, she left. And she kind of went to go live in kind of like a junkyard with a bunch of other kids who she made a really good relationship with. And then now as an adult, she married some like high executive rich man. But she finds out that she's cheating. He's cheating on her, and she finds this to be like her golden ticket out of there because she does not like him. She does not want to be with him. So she files for divorce, uncovers her car that's been in the garage for years, and takes off. And she starts on this road trip, and like, you know, the classic romance story, she breaks down and has to end up in this small town where there's only one tow truck, and he's so cute. He's a single dad, and it was a very cute story, but again, it's nothing that super stuck with me, so I gave that one 3 stars. Then for my next book, I did listen to the audiobook of Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I gave this 4 stars. I did not like this as much as everybody else did. It did not make me cry. And in this book, we have our main character, Joan, and Joan is like she's obsessed with space and wants this job for NASA. And I'm honestly, like, I really barely remember this book. It did not stick with me. I think I don't like Taylor Jenkins Reid as much as everybody else. Like, I loved The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I thought Daisy Jones was very mid, and I thought this was like a 4, but like a low 4, maybe a 3.5. But Joan is obsessed with space, and this is a time where women don't really work in the science field, and so she's fighting her way to get this job. Along the way, there is a little bit of a sapphic romance, and it was a pretty decent story. Nothing like, again, it really did not stick with me, if I'm being so for real with you. Another book I don't have is this one, which is Picking Daisies on Sundays by Liana Cincotti. And this was just really just like basic run-of-the-mill, like copy and paste any single childhood friends to lovers romance. Like, I read it and it was sweet. I didn't think of it literally ever again, and the whole book was literally based on miscommunication. It compares it to Lynn Painter, and it felt like I was reading nothing like the movies or better than the movies, whatever. But basically, we've got our main character, Daniela, and she and her childhood best friend, they were like friends in high school. They both kind of liked each other, but nobody wanted to admit it. They run into each other years and years later. He needs a date for his sibling's wedding, so she agrees to be his fake date. But then he starts acting really romantic towards her. Does he actually like her? That kind of vibe. It was a very basic, so I gave it 3 stars. Then we had an amazing 5-star read in Powerless by Elsie Silver. There's literally a hockey ice skate on the cover, so I don't know why I thought all of this series was like a ranch and cowboy, but it's not, and this made me sob. So in this book, we have got our main character is Jasper, and he is kind of like the adopted cousin, essentially, in like the main group. You'd have to pay me money for me to remember their last names. But like, the boys in books 1 and 2, this is their friend Jasper, who kind of moved in with them whenever he lost his parents and his life was falling apart. He moved in with them, and they just kind of took care of him from there on out. And then we have Sloane, who is cousins with like the boys from the first couple of books. Okay? So basically, Jasper is a professional hockey player, and Sloane it's her wedding day. And she is marrying this asshat, where it's very much so she's marrying for her family, where it's like almost like a business transaction. Her and this guy are getting married. Their parents hooked them up because it would be good for business, and she really doesn't like him. On the day of her wedding, somebody forwards her a video of her husband, or her fiance, future husband, on their wedding day cheating on her. And she takes this as a sign that it's time to go. And Jasper is her getaway driver. He was at her wedding and had constantly been fighting with her fiance because he's such a doucher. And he gets her in the car and he takes her away. And she kind of runs away from her life and her troubles for a while, staying with Jasper. But then something happens where Jasper really needs to lean on her. And I read this like right after The Life of a Showgirl came out, and it literally was just giving ruin the friendship. Like, just kiss already. You both love each other. Just do it. And it was so good. I gave it 5 stars. Then in my overhyped books video, I did read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and I gave this book 3 stars. We've got our main character Anastasia and our main guy Nate. I feel like because they were in college, it felt like I was reading a like high school romance. It gave high school romance, but they were just of age. That's kind of like the vibes it gave. But she's on the ice skating team and he's on the hockey team, and the hockey players like to do these pranks, and there was a prank that kind of went wrong, and now they have 2 ice rinks. One of the ice rinks is out of commission probably for the rest of the season, so the ice skaters and the hockey players have to share a rink, and they are not happy about it. And then Anastasia and Nate kind of form a friendship between each other, and but yeah, that basically she can't stand him at first, and then they start to like each other. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars. And then we had our first 2-star read, and if you don't know, the books on my bookshelves that I have read, I only keep books that are 3 stars or higher, and then if it's lower than a 3-star, there is a couple that I keep on my shelves. It's that way. Like, I have the Avatar Chronicles. I did give the 3rd book a 2, but I'm not just going to get rid of book 3 out of the, like, 6-book series. So, you know. But this was a 2-star, and I thought that this book was horrible. So this is about our 2 characters, Beth and Jennifer. And this book just gave, like, stalking and very, like, ethically not. I have also since unhauled the other Rainbow Rowell book that I own. I fear she's just not for me. But we have these 2 friends, Beth and Jennifer, and they're kind of sending each other personal emails on their work email. And then we have this guy, Lincoln, whose new job is to, like, basically comb through the emails that get sent through the company email to find things like things that are inappropriate, that aren't supposed to be sent out on the work computers, blah, blah, blah. And he finds himself reading these people's emails, and he starts to like one of the girls through her emails. And she has seen him working there, and she has a crush on him too. But, like, literally, like, she follows him to the movie theater when he's going to the movie theater with his nephew, and he follows her, but does, like, it was very creepy, very weird, and I thought it was just really bad, and I gave it 2 stars, and it sucked. I don't recommend at all. This was in a random color generator picks my reads. Then I read The Someday Daughter by Ellen O'Clover, and this got a 3-star, and this was in my reading books I've never heard of video. This was about our main character, Audrey, and Audrey grew up kind of in the shadow of her mom. Her mom had written a book before she was born called The Someday Daughter, and she's going on this book tour, and she's basically threatening to not pay for her daughter's college if she doesn't come on the tour with her, even though she has no interest in going on tour. So, reluctantly, she goes on tour and hates it, and she really resents this book because her mom has been a horrible mother to her. She's never been present. Her home does not look like children live there. She was always sent away to boarding schools, and so being asked these questions about how great of a mom she has really pissed her off because her mom has not been remotely good to her. It was a decent read. I gave it 3 stars. Nothing super to write home about. Then I read the last Sarah Adams book I have on my TBR. This was also in I don't even think it's out yet, a random color generator picks my reads video. And this is To Catch a Suitor. It is book 2. The first one's To Con a Gentleman. And this is about the sister of the main male character in the first book, about Elizabeth. And Elizabeth has come of age, and it's time for her to have her, like, season and to be courted. And she wants kind of nothing to do with it because she is deeply in love with her brother's best friend, Oliver, who's also kind of been, like, her childhood best friend. And he is kind of tasked with helping to see her to these functions because her sister, who's supposed to be her escort, is on bed rest because she's pregnant, and after having lost a previous pregnancy, they are trying to be very careful. And so he is taking her to these events, but secretly they both love each other, and you know how that goes. I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty cute. Then I had a 4-star read in The September House by Carissa Orlando. This book was so strange. This was in a mood reading vlog, and this book is about Margaret. They and her husband, kind of. They live in this house, this big Victorian house. They always had this big dream of having a big old house. And so when the right one came for the right price, and it being that price because people had died there, they like are looking at it through rose-colored glasses, and they move in. Then their first September and the house comes along, and things start getting weird. Ghosts start appearing, the walls start bleeding, and things be thinging, okay? And years passed, and they like don't leave because it's only really bad in September, and the rest of the time the ghosts are like there, but like there's the one lady who was like the maid of the house who has a big gash in her head, and she's there all the time, but like things get worse, and the bleeding walls gets worse and worse and worse every September. So when her husband says he's done, he's leaving, he gets in the car and drives off. Their daughter, who hasn't been to the house, and I think they lived there like 5 or 6 years, she hasn't ever been, but she can't get a hold of the dad, and the mom's trying to like cover it up because she doesn't want her to come in September, but she can't talk her out of it. She's like, we gotta find dad. What do you mean, like, you haven't talked to him? So her daughter comes home, and she's trying to hide all of the weirdness happening in the house, and I gave that 4 stars. Then we had in my reading books that scare me video a shocking 5-star read from me. This is the Mindfuck series. I just marked it as 1 book, even though it's technically 5 books. But this is the 5-book series of Lana and Logan, and literally all hail Lana Myers, period. But this is about Lana, and she is a serial killer, okay? And she's giving like vigilante serial killer or revenge killer. She and her brother were brutally assaulted by a group of 13 people, and she has now made it her mission to end their lives. And like, you find out in graphic detail what they did to her and her brother, and quite literally they get what they fucking deserve. You know what I mean? So there's her, and then we have Logan, and he has an FBI profiler. So Lana is at a cafe, and one of the other people in the like FBI comes up to her to try to get her number, and he's like really obnoxious about it, and she wants nothing to do with it. So whenever Logan she gets to talking to Logan some one way, shape, or how, and he ends up getting her phone number. She's like way more into him. Just like this whatever thing. She goes on a date or two, wanting nothing to do with dating, let alone dating an FBI agent, given what she's doing. But she does, and she even starts like kind of helping the FBI solve some cases because she thinks like a criminal. She can really get in their head. So since she's really able to get in their heads, it's really easy for her to like give them some suggestions. But then they start looking for her after there's this series of murders where all of the men are castrated and they have nails in their stomach and this, that, and the other thing. And so things get a little prickly when he starts looking for her. But this is classified as dark romance, but I truly don't think it's that. I think this is a thriller romance, because like when I think of dark romance, I think of like the spice that happens in like Haunting Adeline and things like that, and like the Ruinous Love trilogy. This was, besides like one kind of like, just like one very like uncomfy sex scene, the sex was just regular sex, if you know what I mean. So I don't know, it just felt like I was watching Criminal Minds. You know, like when you watch Criminal Minds or like any kind of sitcom like that show where there's like individual episodes, like specifically Criminal Minds, there's like individual episodes, like episode to episode individual cases, but then there's like the overarching storyline. That's kind of how this felt, where like the overarching storyline was Lana and Logan, but there was still all of these other layers. That was followed up by another 5-star. This is in my mood reading vlog, and this is On the Bright Side by Anna Sortino. This is, I think she only has 2 books, and I read them both. The other one was Give Me a Sign. But this is about our main character, Ellie, and Ellie is deaf. She goes to a deaf boarding school. However, funding has been cut, and it's like her junior year of high school, and she has to go to regular school, regular public school that is not going to be accommodating for her. So her like different aides and stuff, there's 2 of them that are working with her. One of them sucks ass. The other one's nice, but it's become this issue that the other one is not advocating for her. She has a cochlear implant, so she can hear. She just still needs some assistance because she can't hear well, but it just helps aid her. And so like whenever they're in class and somebody asks a question and she signs her answer and then the aide is verbally telling them things that she did not say, is just like really an issue. And that's like a big hot button topic in this, as well as the fact that her family simply refuses to learn sign language, refuses to like really try to be there for her at all. Like, her mom gets mad at her if she doesn't have her cochlear implant in, and she's like, okay, like my head hurts, like I had a long day, I've been at school all day, I'm just trying to relax. Or if she's not chatting at the dinner table, it's a problem with her mom, even though she's like, I can't hear even with my implant in when all of you are talking, like I can't do it. So at school, the guidance counselor thinks it would be nice if a student would help her around school just to get to know the school. And so she enlists Jackson. When Jackson's kind of going through his own issues, where this past soccer season, I think it's soccer, yeah, his legs went numb during a game and he was not able to do soccer all summer, and he's been kind of being bullied by his teammates a lot, and so he doesn't really want to be around them anyway. So he uses this time to help her, and we also figure out it's one of those things where it's like she was born disabled and something happens to make him become disabled, and seeing that relationship between them was so beautiful. It was really, really good. 5 stars. Then I had another 2-star read, and that was The One by John Mars. This was just not for me. If you like Black Mirror, you'll probably really like this book. This is about, there was like you follow like I think like 6 or 8 people, and I was getting very confused as to who was who. But basically, there's this DNA test you can take, and it matches you with your perfect match, and it's been 100% accurate thus far. And you're following 5 different people who have different ideas of romance. There's this couple where they took the test and they're engaged. They're not each other's perfect match. His perfect match is actually a man. And he's like, what do you mean I'm straight? I don't get that. This other girl's match is this guy who's dying. And she's like, well, what do I do? Or who is dying. There's this other girl whose match, they made plans to meet and then he died in an accident. And so it's just kind of like the story of going through their different experiences with this app. But I think it would have been better, maybe 2 points of view, maybe 3 max. But I was so confused. I could not do it. And that's in, I believe, a mood reading vlog. Then I read in my Pokemon Pick My Reads video, Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young. And this is about our main characters, Chloe and Warren, I think. Was that his name? It was something not very cute. Yeah, Warren. So Chloe grew up in the system. Her mom is a drug addict and has not really had custody of her most of her life. She ended up being adopted by this family and had an okay life. They were very much so, like, wanted her to be what they were and, like, her interests and stuff, and it just wasn't the case. But anywho, she grew up pretty okay. She gets a call from her caseworker from when she was a kid, and she finds out that her mom is in the hospital and just had a baby and she needs to come. Her mom wants to see her. So she comes, and basically her mom wants her to take custody of her little sister. And she does agree, but the thing is that though she has a really good place to live, she doesn't make the income requirements because she's doing freelance and it's too unpredictable. Then we have our main male character, Warren, who's trying to get custody of his teenage brother who is deaf, but he makes really good money but doesn't have the living accommodations to work. So there's this program that they're using where 2 people can like combine resources to provide care. And so they decide they're going to move together into Chloe's apartment to raise their siblings. And they really don't like each other at first, and Warren's very much so like, this is a business arrangement, I don't want to be friends. And she's like, yeah, I don't want to be your friend either, but come on. That was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Another 4-star book that I read for that video is The Marsh King's Daughter. This is about our main character, Helena, and she has a husband and 2 daughters and is living her life when she basically has this big secret that she hasn't really told even her husband, that she was abducted. She is the product of abduction. Her mom was abducted and her dad was the abductor, and she is the product of them. And it's 20 years after all of this, and her dad has just recently like escaped custody, and then nobody can find him, and she knows the only person who will be able to find them is her. And so she leaves her home on search for her dad. in the marsh, and it was a really good. I gave that one 4 stars. Another 5-star read for me, which this was in my color generator picks my reads, was The Compound by Aisling Rowell. I don't know how to say that. But in this book, we follow our main character, Lily, and this is pitched as Love is Blind meets The Lord of the Flies. I don't know what The Lord of the Flies is, okay? Like, I think I read it in high school and did not really read it. I pretended, okay? But I'm a big fan of Love is Blind. This also kind of reminded me of The Match, or The Perfect Match on Netflix. But there's this reality show where essentially the girls are brought to this compound and they don't know how they get there. Like, they just like wake up and they're there. And there's 10 girls and there's going to be 10 guys, but they have to make their way through the desert on their own accord to arrive. And sometimes they don't all make it. So when they arrive, there's 9 guys, which kind of pushes them into their first real predicament. Because at the end of the night, when you go to bed, if anybody wakes up in the morning with nobody in their bed with them, they're kicked out of the compound. And so the compound is very bare bones. Whenever you get there, there's barely any furniture, there's no refrigerator, there's barely any food, this, that, and the other thing, because you have to complete challenges to get these things. There are group challenges to win stuff for the whole compound, like a couch, a refrigerator, things like that. Then there's individual challenges where they can win stuff like clothes, jewelry, food, whatever, that's just for them, like through a sponsor. So whenever like the boys get there, they're like, okay, well, somebody's obviously leaving tonight. And then throughout the game, there's ways people will just choose to leave, whatever, but they do have some rules. One rule is they cannot talk, these rules apply until there's only 5 people left. You cannot talk about your life outside of the compound. You cannot hurt each other physically, and you cannot discuss your individual challenges, and if you do, you're removed or punished. So it was crazy business, and I loved everything about it, and I gave it 5 stars. Then we had a 4-star read in How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. This is book 1 in a series. I'm going to be reading book 2 here really soon, and I'm very excited. But in this, we've got our main character, Story, and Story's great aunt, Cindy, is needing some help with the day-to-day. She recently like injured her hip, and so Story is going to go stay at her house and take care of her. This town is called Kringletown, and they do Christmas all year round, but they're having the Christmas Kringle contest, and her Aunt Cindy is begging her to please just do it for her. Like, I can't do it this year, I'm injured, but like I need to participate and I need you to do it. She reluctantly agrees, which puts her in direct competition with Cole. And he and Story knew each other because Story grew up here, but she has not lived there in a really long time, and they kind of left, and he feels that they left on bad terms. She's not really sure what she did, but we find out in the book some things that happened in Story's behavior that really hurt Cole, and they've never touched on it, so he's very hostile towards her. But through this, we have so many fun competitions. There's like candy cane making and house decorating and all of, like, you know when you watch The Grinch and like Cindy Lou Who nominates the Grinch to be the Who cheermeister or whatever? That's the competition we're doing, okay? And it was so good, so cute, so fun. I did give it 4 stars, but this is your PSA. This is the book with the infamous candy cane scene. The sexy time with the candy cane. And this is your PSA. Don't put a candy cane in your vagina, because it's not a fictional world. This is real life. And you will most likely get a bacterial infection. So like, just maybe don't. Maybe don't. Then for a Libby Picks My Reads video, I did read this book, which is If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. And I did give this 4 stars. I don't know, I really don't understand why it's getting like such good reviews, because it was definitely a cute story. It's way too long. Way too long. But in this, we've got our main character. I forget her name already. Oh, literally, it doesn't even say. Michelle, I think. But we've got our main character, and her mother recently and unexpectedly died. She and her dad lived in this small town in Vermont, I believe. Yeah, Vermont. Where they have like a bed and breakfast. And she's recently gone through a divorce, and her sister is meant to take over the bed and breakfast, but her sister is currently in college, and she wants her sister to be able to finish her degree, so she agrees to go run the inn until after Christmas. So, the bed and breakfast. So she moves in, and she has kind of like a rough start. She gets all of like the paperwork, and in it is like a letter to her sister, and she feels like, wow, Mom really didn't believe I could do this. Mom didn't want me to do this. And there's a lot of difficult feelings there, and a lot of difficult emotions. And then the next door neighbor, Clint, is a single dad to 2 daughters, Jennifer and Emily, I think are their names. And one of them is like a teenager who he had when he was like very, very, very young. And one of them is like I don't know, like 6. And so with the kids, they take a really big liking to our main character and her dog, and they build this unlikely friendship again, and he's kind of helping her win over the town, and she's helping him out where she can with the kids. And they built this beautiful relationship and obviously fall in love. So I gave that one 4 stars. I thought it was quite good. And then I'm in a long-term project of going through and rereading all of Ellen Hopkins' books. So this is not like in order, but I'm just gonna talk about these all together because I did reread this trilogy. This is a trilogy. These do all go together. Crank, Glass, and Fallout. I did give Crank 5 stars, and I gave Glass and Fallout both 4 stars. And so I'm mainly just gonna discuss Crank, because if I really discuss Glass or Fallout, it is spoilers. So Crank is about our main character, Christina, and these books are all written in verse. And the audiobooks are pretty well available on Libby. At least like all of my libraries have them pretty much available, and they're pretty short. So if you like need something to really bulk up your reads, great options. But her books are all very like check your trigger warnings types vibes. But this is about our main character, Christina, and Christina's parents are divorced. Her dad is he is addicted to meth, and she is going to visit him for the summer. She really wanted to go visit her dad, even though they don't really have much of a relationship. And upon arriving, she meets a boy, and her dad's not really around. His apartment is like in a really bad neighborhood. It's very dirty. It's really just like bad vibes all around. She meets this boy, and she's always been like a goody two-shoes girl, but she decides she's gonna try Crank. And it's a very slippery slope, and she quickly becomes addicted in her few weeks of being home, or being at her dad's. And then upon arriving back home, you really see her change and how this addiction is really like taking over her life. Her grades start slipping. She starts hanging out with like some bad people and getting herself into pretty bad situations. So this story is kind of following the beginning of her journey with drugs. Then we move into Glass, which takes place about a year after the end of Crank, but anything I could say would be very big spoilers. And then we move into Fallout, which this takes place many, many years later from the viewpoints of Christina's future children. So that's that series. Highly recommend. Then I read my book club pick, which was Love Mom by Ileana Zander. If you do want to join book club, we are, for the month of November, reading Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. So if you're interested, that is always linked down below. But I read Love Mom for book club, and this is about our main character, Mackenzie, and she is a writing student. Her mom is a famous thriller writer who dies unexpectedly and possibly under suspicious circumstances. So at the funeral, she sees her dad kind of talking to some sketchy guy, and things are kind of weird. She has a really bad relationship with her grandmother, and her dad's kind of not that great either. She does have her best friend EJ, who's kind of the only one who's there for her, and she starts getting these very mysterious letters that are in her mom's handwriting. And like she finds like the notebook that they were ripped out of, and it is her mom's life story about how she got where she is, how she had Mackenzie. And you find out things are not exactly what they seem. There are some crazy twists. This is broken up into 3 parts. The first part is Mackenzie's point of view now. The middle part is the mom's point of view in the past. And then the third part is back to Mackenzie's point of view. That middle part was quite boring, and for a really long time I thought this was going to be a 3-star read. But that third, like part 3, made me cry. So I quite enjoyed that, and I gave it 4 stars. Then we had another 2-star read. This is going to be in a Besties Picks My Reads, where my friend Maria picked my reads, and I read The Bad Ones by Melissa Elbert. This is about, we have Nora, and she has been estranged from her best friend Becca for a couple of weeks now, and when Becca goes missing, she starts getting these weird like hints and signs as to where she went, and there's a lot of stuff about this goddess game that they played and how they kind of got mixed up with some bad things and trying to figure out what happened to her friend. I feel like if I give a book 2 stars, I really don't have much to say. It was literally the most whatever book. Then for my Libby Picks My Reads video, I did read Well Actually by Maisie Eddings, which I gave 4 stars. This is about Eva and Riley. And this is a book that has like really good representation. Eva is pansexual and Riley is bisexual. So if you're looking for some representation, Maisie Eddings is just really where to go. She has so many books with that. But Eva really wants to work in social media, and so she gets this job working for this company doing this like she wants to be a journalist. She gets this job interviewing B-list celebrities on this thing called Sausage Talk, where they literally eat hot dogs and she asks them questions. And so one night she's kind of sad about her life, getting drunk and scrolling TikTok, and she comes across a TikTok from this guy Riley, who runs a page where he kind of is like breaking the barriers on toxic masculinity and things like that, and being very like women positive and stuff like that. And she knows Riley. They went to college together and they were seeing each other, and he kind of ghosted her and broke her heart. So drunkenly she films a video calling him out. In the morning she wakes up, it has got almost 1 million views, and her boss is calling her for an emergency meeting because even though it wasn't on the company page, it's affecting the company, but in a good way. It's getting more clicks. And so she reluctantly agrees to do this like collab with him where he's going to take her onto 6 dates to try to change his mind, and you really get to the heart of what happened between them, and it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Another 2-star read for where Maria picked my reads is The Shadows by Alex North. This is about Charlie, this is about Paul, and Paul was friends with this guy Charlie, and Charlie and his friends, this friend group, they were big into like lucid dreaming and like getting lucid dreaming to be in the same dream. I don't know, it was very dumb. And one night one of the friends in the friend group gets brutally murdered, and Charlie is never to be seen again. So Paul kind of ends up leaving town, and now he's back in town because his mom is dying of dementia, and she just keeps saying that it's in the attic, he's in the woods, kind of like alluding to Charlie. And yeah, it was like whatever. I gave it approximately 2 stars, and it will be unhauled. Then I had another 5-star read of this, which is Unseen: How I Lost My Vision But Found My Voice by Molly Burke. It is her new memoir that just came out, and it was so good. You really get to hear Molly's story about how when she was born with a congenitive eye disorder where she's slowly going blind, and she was always told she would probably go blind, fully blind, around 30. Well, her condition progressed faster than doctors ever thought could, and she lost pretty much all of her vision by age 14. And so this is really following her story about how she started public speaking when she was 5 years old. By her own accord. Her parents were like, I don't know, and she's like, no, I need to do this. About her getting her first guide dog and losing that guide dog, and just how this world is not made for people with disabilities, and it's fucked up. And it was just a really, she's been public speaking since she was 5. Girl knows how to get her words down, and it was really good. An unexpected 5-star for an upcoming video is What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown. This was so good. I always picked it from Book of the Month, so I thought I was going to like it, but I liked it so much more than I thought. Also, saying that a book that takes place mainly in the 90s is historical fiction, Goodreads, is so wild behavior. But anywho, this is about our main character Jane, and the prologue has like a reporter knocking on her door and being like, hey girl, like, you want to get your story out because like your dad's telling his side of the story. And she's like, no, when I'm ready to talk about it, I will. And then we flash forward to the 90s where she's 17 years old living with her dad in bumfuck nowhere, middle of the forest, Montana. And he is very strict. She's not really allowed to leave. She's homeschooled, but her dad's like, oh, I went to Harvard. I'm just going to teach you what I feel like teaching you. And they go into town every once in a while where she's kind of friends with like the person who owns like the corner store, her daughter, because she's also homeschooled, so they have like this little friendship. But Jane's not allowed to leave the house and go do things. And her dad has an office that he keeps locked, but there is a TV in there. They don't really allow much technology because her dad's very like tinfoil hat against technology. And one day he's gone. He goes on these like couple week-long excursions. She breaks into his office, or she goes and breaks into his office and notices a drawer that's typically locked to his desk is like askew. So she busts it open and digs through it. And in there she finds a photo of her and her mom, who she's been told her mom died in a car accident when she was a baby, or when she was like a toddler. This picture of her and her mom she's never seen before, and she looks on the back and her name's Jean and she thinks her mom's name is Jill. And the back of the photo says Teresa and Esme, and she's like, who? So she makes it her mission to get out of there and find the truth, and it was so good, so good. Then I had a very disappointing 3. The most disappointing of 3s, and that is Under Lock by Mariana Zapata. I've read 3 other books by her and given them all 5 stars. So for this to fall so hard to a 3 is so devastating. But in this book, we've got our main guy Locke and our main girl, oh my god, he calls her Ritz, so I can never, Iris. Our main girl Iris, and our guy's name is Locke. And Locke is a tattoo artist in Austin. Sounds great, right? It's going so well, the ideas. Oh no, this is about a motorcycle gang. You've already lost me. I already don't care. I thought all of that part was so cringy and so corny. But what I really couldn't get past was the way that Locke treated Iris. He literally, like, she gets a job, her life's kind of falling apart, and her half-brother, her dad's like a big guy in this like gang, but everybody hates him. And he's got so many kids by so many different women. And so one of her half-brothers lives in Austin and kind of like offers her a place to stay and gets her a job as like working at his friend's tattoo shop. But she's never worked there. And so she's asking him for like some help on some things. And he literally is on the phone with somebody and is like, yeah, I don't even want her here. This bitch is a fucking idiot. Like, being like horrible and saying horrible things to her. I literally could not forgive it because he made her feel so bad about herself for so much of the book, and to his dying breath his reasoning is, well, I have a temper, I get in a bad mood sometimes. No. So mad. Then for my Goodreads picks my reads, I did read The Littlest Library by Poppy Alexander, and this was pretty cute. Again, I gave it 3 stars. It was nothing special. We've got our main character, Jess, and Jess her parents died when she was young, and she was raised by her grandmother, who recently passed away. And she kind of wanted to get out of Dodge, and so she goes and buys this like cabin house, this little cottage, that's the word, that has like a red phone booth on property, and she plans to tear it down, but it turns out it's part of like the town, so she can't, and there's this big petition as to what to do with it. She wants to turn it into a library, and then other people want to put a defibrillator in there. Like, that is the big topic. And there's a little bit of like romance with her and one of the neighbors, and her just kind of finding herself. I gave it 3 stars. It was cute. I'm never gonna think of it again. I did DNF this book after like 30%. I'm not even gonna talk about it. And the final book I finished was The Perfect Son by Frida McFadden, which I did give 4 stars, and this is for a YouTube Comments Pick My TBR video coming to you soon. But yeah, I did finish this one. This was a big thinker. This is about our main character, Erica, and she has 2 kids, Liam and Hannah, and Liam is her son. He's her firstborn, and she very much so favors him because he's always been the easy kid, the easy baby, whatever. Hannah's more dramatic. Yada yada. So that's all fine and dandy. However, Liam's had kind of issues since kindergarten. He got expelled from kindergarten for doing some crazy shit, okay? And he has been basically diagnosed as a sociopath. So when a girl in town goes missing, she's suspicious of her son. That's to say the least. And I did give it 4 stars. I didn't think that this was a particularly twisty or surprising thriller, but I did think it was a fun thriller. And sometimes that's just what I need. And yeah, that's everything. That's all the books we read. I'll talk to you next time. Bye!